You were the best engineer on your team, the go to person, the problem solver, the one everyone relied on. Then you got promoted to lead that team. And suddenly, nothing you were good at matters anymore. If that's your story, this episode is for you. Here's what usually happens: you spent years mastering your craft. You became the expert, the person with the answers. Your technical brilliance got you promoted. Then you step into leadership, and suddenly your expertise becomes a liability instead of an asset. Being the smartest person in the room actually hurts your team. Solving problems yourself undermines your team's growth. The skills that make you successful are the exact skills holding you back today. And nobody prepared you for this. Nobody told you that the transition from expert to leader required you to let go of the very thing that made you valuable in the first place. No wonder you're struggling. I'm Dr. Tanya Biglow, and I coach technical professionals through this exact transition. And here's what I see over and over again: there's a gap between your technical competence, which is high, and your leadership confidence, which feels a little shaky right now. But here's the thing that most people miss: your confidence isn't low because you're incapable. Your confidence is low because you're trying to lead using the same skills that made you a great individual contributor. And those skills, they don't work anymore. Not because they're bad, but because the game has changed and nobody gave you the new playbook. Let me show you the 3 mistakes technical leaders make in their first 90 days. And I'm willing to bet you've made at least one of them. Mistake number one: trying to be the smartest person in the room. You're in a meeting, someone asks a technical question, you know the answer. You've solved this problem 100 times. So you jump in, you explain, you solve it. And with that one action, you just undermined your entire team. Here's what your team heard: I don't trust you to figure this out. I'm still the expert. You're still the student. I know that's not what you meant. You were trying to help, to add value, to prove you still belong. But leadership isn't about being the smartest. Leadership is about making your team smarter. Mistake number two: solving problems instead of coaching problem solvers. Someone on your team comes to you with a problem. You immediately see the solution. It's obvious to you, so you tell them exactly what to do: step by step, efficient, done. And you just rob them of the chance to grow. As an individual contributor, your job was to solve problems fast. As a leader, your job is to develop people who can solve problems without you. Every time you jump in and you fix it, you're saying, you need me, you can't do this alone. But what if instead of solving, you coached? What if you asked questions like, what do you think the root problem is? What have you tried so far? If you were me, what would you do? That's leadership, not solving, developing. Mistake number three: avoiding difficult conversations. There's someone on your team who isn't performing. You know it, they probably know it, everyone else definitely knows it, but you don't say anything. Why? Because you're a technical person. You were trained to solve technical problems, not people problems. You don't want to hurt feelings. You don't want to be that kind of boss. You hope it'll get better on its own. Guess what? It won't. And every day you avoid that conversation, you're sending a message to your entire team: mediocrity is acceptable here. Your high performers see it. They're wondering why they have to carry the weight, and they're updating their resume. Leadership means having the hard conversations, not because you're mean, no, because you care about standards, about the team, about helping everyone improve or find a better fit. Here's what nobody told you about the transition from expert to leader: your value used to come from what you could do, how fast you could code, how well you could analyze data, how brilliantly you could solve the unsolvable problem. Your value now comes from what your team can do without you, but because of you. That's the shift. That's the confidence-competent gap. You're not less competent. You're operating in a new domain of competence. And you're not less confident. You just haven't developed the skill to build confidence in this role yet. Technical competence does not equal leadership competence. They're different skill sets altogether. And the sooner you stop trying to lead with your technical skills and start developing your leadership skills, the sooner your confidence will return. This is where the responsibility to impact model comes in. Traditional leadership says, be confident, be decisive, be strategic. Cool, but how? The responsibility to impact model says your job as a leader is to take responsibility for the outcomes you don't directly control. You're no longer responsible for writing the best code, but you are responsible for building a team that writes great code. You're no longer responsible for having all of the answers, but you are responsible for creating an environment where your team can find the answers. You're no longer responsible for solving every problem, but you are responsible for developing problem solvers. That's the mindset shift that changes everything. When you make this shift from expert to leader, from doing to enabling, something powerful happens. Your confidence returns. Not the fake, I have to pretend I have all the answers confidence, real confidence. The confidence that comes from watching your team solve a problem you would have jumped in to fix and they nailed it. Having a difficult conversation that you dreaded and the person thanked you for your honesty. Seeing your team deliver results without you being the bottleneck. Realizing you're not just good at your job, you're making other people good at theirs. And that's when you know you've made the transition. That's when leadership stops feeling like you're faking it. And that's when your impact multiplies. Here's what I want you to do this week. Number one, identify one problem you're currently solving that someone else on your team could solve. Don't solve it, coach them through it. Ask questions instead of giving answers. Number two, think about that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Schedule it this week. Use this framework. I've noticed specific behavior. Here's the impact it's having. Concrete example. What I need from you is clear expectation. How can I support you in making this change? Number three, download the Technical Leaders Transition Blueprint. The link is in the description. It'll walk you through the mindset shift, the skill gaps, the practical strategies for making this transition without burning out. And then drop a comment below. Which of these three mistakes hit hardest for you? You were promoted because you were brilliant at your technical work, but that's not why you'll succeed as a leader. You'll succeed as a leader because you're willing to let go of being the expert and become the developer of experts. You'll succeed because you're willing to have the hard conversations. You'll succeed because you're willing to step back so your team can step up. That's not a loss of identity. That's an evolution. In the next episode, we're tackling the support gap because here's the truth. Organizations love to promote talented people. They're just terrible at supporting them afterwards. We're going to expose the systemic failures that set new leaders up to struggle and then blame them where they're lacking confidence. That's the next episode. I'm Dr. 𝘲𝗎𝗿𝗍. This is the leadership gap nobody's talking about. You're not failing, you're transitioning. Let's keep closing the gaps together.